The following podcast is brought to you by Pro Wrestling Connect, Australia's newest choice for event management and brand development specializing in pro wrestling.
And now, the B Plus Wrestling Podcast. Watch global. Support local. It's the B Plus Wrestling Podcast.
The news.
B plus.
Check it out! Here we go! You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground, steady on the ground. You wanna mess with us? Cause we're steady on the ground, steady on the ground.
Hello, and welcome to the Wrestling Landscape Podcast. My name is Lance Larson, and I am your host. The Wrestling Landscape Podcast is the casual wrestling podcast, the informal wrestling podcast. Today I am drinking Costa Rican single origin French press coffee because I'm actually recording in the morning for the first time probably in months. This coffee's not bad. It is not bad. Today on the Wrestling Landscape Podcast, we are going to focus on Lucha Libre Indies from the entire Latin American world, show from a Mexican indie, from Chile, and from Puerto Rico. As on the B Plus Wrestling Network, Big Boy Mikey does a very good job of handling the top level Lucha Libre companies, CMLL and AAA. I will take a look at some of the one of the underneath companies in Mexico, IWRG, and as usual, cover the weekly episodes from Chile's leading promotion, CNL. Well, I guess Legion, Lucha Libre, would have something to say about that, but from what I can tell, Chile's leading promotion, CNL, and Puerto Rico's WWL High Voltage, which at least in terms of quality is the number one promotion in Puerto Rico. At least that's what my Puerto Rican wrestling guy tells me. Yeah, I got a guy for Puerto Rican wrestling. His name's Emmanuel Rosado. He's a really cool guy. You can follow him on Twitter if you'd like. I don't know his handle. Anyway, we're gonna jump right in. We have IWRG, which was filmed on June 23rd and aired on July 2nd. So IWRG. For those of you that are longtime listeners know, I covered IWRG a few weeks in a row, a couple of months ago. And there was some good, there was a lot of bad, and I couldn't take it anymore. However, I think it's important to look at the Lucha Libre Indies, especially since it is so ill-covered in the English-speaking wrestling world. So I will follow IWRG, which usually airs shows weekly on the Plus Lucha YouTube page. And additionally, Riot Lucha Libre, whenever they decide to upload a next show on their fucking pivot share. The Crash, which I want to presume is the third largest company in Mexico, behind AAA and CMLL, although I have no hard facts to back that up, really doesn't release a lot of tape. I know a few fan cam matches have escaped and have found their way on YouTube. But beyond that, Crash doesn't really tape stuff. Although, I did see on Twitter, at their last show, the Crash did have some cameramen there. Someone can cross their fingers and hope. Although the Cubs fan, Lucha Blog, who I view as probably the foremost Lucha Libre authority, at least, for us plebeians, joked about how you probably won't see this footage unless it's a highlight video 2 years from now. So, we will see what happens to that tape for the Crash. If they do start putting content out more regularly, I will absolutely start following that, because the Crash is the coolest motherfucking promotion on the planet. I'm speaking hyperbolically. But they really do bring some of the top indie talent from all of North America. And not even just indie talent. Like, they get folks from CMLL and AAA, from the Mexican Indies, from the American Indies, and Canadian Indies, sometimes from Europe and Australia too, and all these people just meet in Tijuana, Baja California. And it's great. Some of these cards that they have been astounding. Like, you look at some of these names and it's like, Jesus, this really is an all-star lineup between luchadors and the American Indies. And occasionally the worldwide Indies. So the Crash is a fascinating promotion. I would love for some of their shit to hit tape more regularly, but we can't always get what we want. But I think you'll find we get what we need. That is a song, not a truthful adage. So let's jump right into this IWRG show. Like I said, it was taped on June 23rd, aired on July the 2nd on the Plus Lucha YouTube page. The opening match, we had a Dragonfly, Jess, and Ventura. Oh my god. I can't read my own fucking handwriting. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It was Dragonfly, Jesse Ventura, and Mosca, defeating Atomic Star, Black Shadow Jr., and Ovette Jr. So, this match started as a brawl, as most IWRG matches tend to do. And then once the ref finally crawled them back in the ring, there's some good wrestling, but as is very usual with IWRG, and this ended up being some of my biggest stuff I couldn't handle about watching it before. While sometimes these wrestlers pull off these super complicated, super intricate moves, so much of what they do tends to be sloppy as well. So you see like a fucking perfect, I don't know, think of a really difficult move to achieve. Like a perfect 630. But then you also see like a really bad arm drag. And it's like, what the fuck? So that was kind of the case here. There was good heat. I don't want to say these wrestlers were shitty because they weren't. But it's not, it's a lot of stuff did not look good. But, you know, that was the opening contest on this episode. Not the opening contest of the taping. The opening contest on this episode. The next match, which was the semi-main, both of this episode and of the whole taping, was fucking insane in all of the greatest ways. Okay, so first of all, listen. It was a 16-man tag. It was 8 versus 8 in an elimination match. That shit is fucking nuts. And don't come at me with, well, WWE does 20-man person tags when they do their tag team survival series. Bullshit. One person from the tag team is pinned, the whole team is eliminated. So it's really just 5 teams. This was 8 people. Okay? There were 15 falls in this match. 15 different people were individually eliminated. This match fucking rocked. Not necessarily in a star rating way. This match is coming nowhere near my top 10 for the year. Nowhere near my top 25 for the year. But being completely honest, probably not near my top 50 for the year. But it was so much fucking fun. Okay, so this match with these 16 wrestlers whose names I didn't even bother to write down because there were so fucking many of them, started with absolute chaos on the outside. It looks like a fucking gang war because they're on the ringside, like all facing each other off. They go at it, they're motherfucking brawling. I'm so intense because there's 16 fucking wrestlers brawling on the outside. Eventually things get organized. They get, one wrestler from each team in the ring. They got 7 wrestlers on the outside. Really what it was is there was one wrestler on the apron waiting for the tag. And then 6 wrestlers just standing on the mat, waiting their turn. Because let's be real, if there's 7 wrestlers standing on the apron like that, that's blocking a good chunk of the view from their ring. So, not dealing with that. And so, once things got settled and the teams got squared away, the wrestling was so much fucking fun. Like, it was just spot after spot after spot, flippy shit after flippy shit after flippy shit, Ranas and arm drags galore, and this stuff looked good. And it's like, this is so much fun. Is there a single story here? No! Does it matter? No! Because this match is so much fun. Now, I don't want every single match like this. Hell, I don't even think I want a match like this every week. But damn, I want a match like this every so often. This was just chaos. And flippy shit. And at times just 16 dudes brawling. It was fucking great. Shit like this needs to happen more often. I'm here for this. Fuck. I'm watching this match, which took like 20 plus minutes, by the way, because there's 15 people that had to be eliminated. And I'm just astounded at like how much fun this is, even when there's not a single story going until like the last 2 minutes of the match. Doesn't even matter. So much fun. No psychology. Just people brawling, and then getting settled and doing moves, tagging in and out, then brawling again, then coming together, doing moves, tagging out. God damn. Go watch this match. It's not even like a 4-star match or anything. To be completely honest, I don't even know if I'd give it 3.5 if we're doing star ratings. But fuck, it was so much damn fun. Absolute insanity. Fucking here for it. I've talked about this match for I don't know how long, but it was so much fucking fun. Jesus Christ. Tons of good heat, by the way. The crowd was super fucking into this match. So it worked. So you can complain and nitpick about all your bullshit, about how, oh, if there's no story, if there's no soul psychology, it's a bad match. Fuck you. The crowd fucking loved this. The crowd fucking loved this. And for a company like IWRG, which I would assume doesn't make money off of the shows they put on fucking YouTube, live and die by the ticket sales, merch sales, and concession stand sales, if we're being honest, that pleasing the crowd that paid money to buy a fucking ticket is all that fucking matters. So this was, by all intents and purposes, by the goals set forth by these folks putting together an entertaining match, it was a good match. The crowd loved it. I'm sure there are people there that will buy a ticket again in the future, partly because they enjoyed this match. It's pro wrestling. Side note, when you're watching, especially international wrestling, it really is important to keep in mind that appeasing you, if you're like me and you're a wrestling nerd, just that appeasing our wrestling nerd tendencies and preferences really is not what they have in mind. Most of these companies that you're watching around the world are really just trying to draw ticket buyers. So, they might do something you and I don't like, maybe that isn't yours or mine's taste or cup of tea, but we gotta think we're not the intended audience. I try to keep that in mind as much as possible when watching, especially international wrestling. Now, when I watch, like, American indie wrestling, that's like, you know, I'm an American indie wrestling fan, like, I'm your target audience. If I don't go to your show, it's usually just because it's too far away. I am the kind of person you would want to draw. So that's a case where it's like, ooh, if I don't like that, then, you know, maybe it means more. But really beyond that, you know, well, I guess really for American wrestling in general, I am of that opinion. Okay, beyond that, the finish was, there was a distraction and a chair shot used, which led to more brawling afterward. So, but it was so chaotic, I didn't write down anyone's names because there was absolute insanity. So much fun. Moving on to the main event, which really is what drew me in about this show. Because I was going to watch the show, and then I saw that this was the main event. I'm like, oh shit, hell yeah. It was Dragonbane, who, if you haven't heard of, is absolutely fantastic. He is a Mexican indie wrestler who is very talented and has a kick-ass name, by the way. Teamed with Io de Canis Lupus, and they defeated Los Traumas. Now, this was super fucking hot. It was an absolute brawl for most of the match. They're going around the building, hitting and walking. Exactly what you'd expect out of a lucha brawl. And it was hot. The crowd was into it. Again, is this my favorite kind of match? No. Like, really, this kind of stuff that, like, I really only liked when it was Rush and LA Park doing it. But, this was so good that not only was the crowd into it, I was into it. I'm a little bit invested in Dragonbane, and I'm a little bit invested in Los Traumas, because I think those two are very good. I think Iota Canis Lupus is fine. But I was into this brawl. And so that's another thing that I felt like, oh, this must be really good, because I usually don't care about this kind of wrestling, but I cared about this match. The story of the match was Iota Canis Lupus got his torso, quote-unquote, hurt. He was taken to the back by a doctor. He made his comeback to the ring, fighting through injury, having to push the doctors away to get back into it. There was interference for the finish, which led to Dragonbane and Iota Canis Lupus getting a roll-up. There was more brawling afterward. I can only assume this will lead to a rematch and some kind of blow-off between these two. Because this is not the first time these four have locked horns. They were on different sides of a six-man tag last week that also included Negro Casas and Hechicero, which that was a fun six-man tag. Which, I mean, if I liked this match, then you add Hechicero and Negro Casas to the mix. Come on. That's not going to be bad. That's going to be great. So, I can only assume this is going to lead somewhere else. How long this storyline will go on, I do not know. But, whatever kind of match this leads to, I will be into it. If it drags on too long, I will stop being into it. But, again, it doesn't matter if I stop being into it. What matters is if people stop buying tickets. That's when you know you've dragged it on too long, because that is their target audience. But if they keep drawing, then it's working. And that's what matters. Okay, that was IWRG. From Mexico, we are now moving way south of the border to Santiago, Chile, for CNL Episode 8, which aired on July the 6th. And I believe this was the very last episode from the previous TV tapings, as they had new tapings on Sunday, July 7th. So this upcoming weekend should have the first episode from a brand new set of tapings. I look forward to what those have in store, as CNL is a very easy watch every single week. For any new listeners, because this is my first time covering Lucha on the B Plus podcast. I would cover it every week when this was a standalone podcast, but now that I'm part of the B Plus network, I suppose there are some new ears, and perhaps I should explain. CNL is the most accessible wrestling company out of South America. Every Saturday night, they post a weekly show for free on YouTube. They're like 45 minutes, so it's not a big commitment at all. The matches are usually good. The storylines make sense. The pushes make sense. The results make sense. And it's a breeze to watch. And the nice thing about it is that because the booking is so straightforward and logical, you know where the fuck it's going. And you know what the fuck is going on. Listen, I don't speak any Spanish, okay? None. I can watch this show, which is completely in Spanish, and still know what the fuck is going on because it makes wrestling sense. That's awesome. I like that.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
This month we are sponsored by Grapple, a fantastic new wrestling app available on iOS and Google Play completely for free, where you can rate all the matches that you watch in WWE, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, all across the world, and we are even getting Australian wrestling involved in the Grapple app rating system as well, starting with PWA Pro Wrestling Australia. Their Green Label event from the other week is up there. The Black Label event, All Eyes on Troy, is up there. And the last 2 years of events, at least, are up on Grapple right now for you to rate so that people can get around our Aussie wrestling and see that we are just as good as anywhere else in the world. Basically, Grapple is a Rotten Tomatoes for wrestling. Now we all get a say. It is the democratization of match rating systems for pro wrestling. It's amazing. So I get a say, you get a say. You can follow me on there at Greg Unchained. You can follow Big Boy Mikey at B+_Big Boy. At Mr. Mysterious is on there. At Danders is on there. At Jay is on there. We're all on there rating the matches that we watch. So follow us. We'll follow you back. Let's build this community and get as many Australian wrestling fans onto the Grapple app as we can. You can download it right now. It has over 30,000 matches on there going back to 1985, 15 promotions around the world. There's so much to do on the Grapple app. It's a great little community, so get around it. It's Grapple, Grappl.co, and it's for free on App Store and Google Play. Get around it. Hey everyone, just want to take a second to tell you about one of our new sponsors, Outbreak Nutrition. Outbreak Nutrition are creating supplements for survival, sharper minds, quicker reflexes, all the energy you need to take your performance to the next level, whether that be on the field, in the gym, on the gaming field. That's right, they have specifically designed gaming supplements as well to help you focus on those late night sessions. They even sell coffee, you guys, at Outbreak Nutrition. You can get coffee pods, you can get coffee beans, you can get supplements for the bedroom as well if you want to enhance your performance there. These are performance enhancing supplements for every aspect of your life, specifically designed by gamers, for gamers, to stay fit and healthy in the gym, to stay sharp and focused on the game, and to dominate in all areas of life. So check out OUTBREAKNutrition.com, and for being a listener of our podcast, they will give you 10% off your order when you enter the code B+. That is BPLUS at checkout. So make sure, if you want to stay on top of your game, if you want to take your performance to the next level, OUTBREAKNutrition.com, enter the code B+ at checkout. Hey guys, just a reminder, if you want to hear all of these wonderful B+ podcast episodes completely ad-free, make sure you head over to Patreon or Podbean, where we are the featured podcast this week. You can subscribe for as little as $1 a month up to $10 a month, where anything you want to help us with, it really helps out. It's going to help us grow the site. It's going to help us redesign some things, and everything that we get through this and through the advertising as well is all going straight back into the podcast so that we can get Aussie Graps out there for the rest of the world to hear about, for the rest of the world to see, so we can grow this mission of watch global, support local, and build indie wrestling. So if you want to be a part of that and get some really cool rewards like call-in shows, bonus episodes, ad-free like I mentioned, then head over to patreon.com/theb+ and subscribe today.
So this was their 8th episode, which occurred this past Saturday. As I've talked about before, I really... So, like I said, CNL is the most accessible indie company in South America. And I really wonder if that will lead to them kind of being viewed as, like, the leader in South American wrestling to us English-speaking wrestling fans. Because a lot of times accessibility is the number one driver in that. Now, I don't know how many English-speaking eyes they are drawing to the product right now, because I have seen next to no buzz about this company on any kind of wrestling social media at all. So, I don't know what that means. I've talked in the past about how I think they need 2 or 3 really buzzworthy matches where, like, the people who do watch this, start tweeting out, like, oh my god, this main event or whatever was kick-ass, 4+ stars, like, absolutely nuts, that kind of stuff. And that needs to happen a few times where people are like, hey, I've heard people say that the CNL has had some really good matches in the past, I'm going to check it out. I really think would be maybe the best, maybe the only way for CNL to start getting some buzz amongst us English-speaking wrestling fans. Now, what it would take to do that, I don't know if they would have to bring in a big-time indie name from somewhere else in the world. They certainly have good wrestlers on their own contract. It's not like Shako or Sinner or any of those folks couldn't have a kick-ass match like that. Chilean Empire versus Shako and Sinner was a kick-ass match. I don't know that it was super internet buzzworthy. It's not like A-Kid and Zack Sabre Jr. from last year. But it was still very, very good. So I think they certainly could do it with their own roster. If that happens, I don't know. Because this show really is more... I don't know if story-based is the right word. Because most of the show is matches. Like, it's not like it's all promos and skits. Like, most of the show is matches. But it's just more about the matches leading somewhere. So I don't know that it's necessarily built to have that kick-ass 20-minute barn burner match. Maybe one day they'll have it and they'll just be like, fuck it, this episode's going a full hour instead of 45 minutes. So we can have, that 24-minute main event. But we'll see. I'm excited for CNO. I want to see where it goes, and I want to see what it means for South American wrestling as a whole. Because that continent really is ignored a lot when wrestling fans start talking about the worldwide wrestling scene. Like, think about it. So obviously Antarctica, but I shouldn't have had to say that. That was dumb. But like South America and Africa really seem to be completely ignored when talking about the worldwide wrestling. Because obviously North America, shit ton of wrestling happens there. Obviously Europe, especially with the last 10 years and how the British scene boomed, and then continental Europe as a whole boomed. Australia, which I don't know how long that's been growing, but it seems like every year it's growing more and more. It's becoming more and more prominent in the wrestling community. And Japan, which represents Asia, so you can include Asia in that, but not really mainland Asia, up until AEW announced that they're partnering with OWE, and that drew a few more eyes on the Chinese wrestling scene. And if you want to include it, Southeast Asian wrestling is growing as well, with Singapore Pro Wrestling, is it New Taiwan Wrestling? I feel dumb for not knowing the name, and those areas. So, really the two continents that almost never get talked about are South America and Africa. And so I'm really curious as to what CNL means for the whole continent's wrestling scene as viewed by non-South Americans, particularly the English-speaking wrestling community. I'd like to see it grow. I'd like more accessibility, because I think, every culture has its own kind of wrestling, and what it likes, and what it pushes, and what it hates. And so I'm fascinated to see it grow here. Just like I'm fascinated to see the Chinese scene grow. So it's more curiosity than having any kind of strong prediction of where South American wrestling is going. But right now that curiosity is very much piqued, and I'm excited about it. This is going to be a long-ass fucking episode, Jesus. I'm over 20 minutes in, and I haven't even started talking about the second show. Good God. This is the last of my coffee I just poured. Okay. So, CNL Episode 8 aired Saturday, July 6th. Shako went one-on-one with Francis, who's the Metropolitan Champion. It went to a no contest. Before the no contest, the work in itself was good, but S2S, Herco Whiskey, and Draco, that dastardly group of heels, attacked Francis, setting up the Metro title championship match between Francis and S2S, which should be a good match. Both those two can go, so I really look forward to that, which I would only presume happened this past Sunday at the TV tapings. So, that is exciting. I look forward to that match. And again, S2S, a heel, has gotten a couple wins in the last couple weeks via some dastardly methods, so he's gotten wins, which is good when you're building someone up for a title match. He's done it in heelish ways, which works, because he's legitimately drawn heat. And now, he attacked the champ to try to get a title match. Makes sense? It works. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but I know what's going on. Good, solid booking. Normally, I do prefer... Normally, I'm not a fan of, this attack in the middle of the match thing. I don't know why Francis just couldn't have won, and then he was attacked afterwards. But I get what they're doing. And I get that they want to build up as much heat as possible for S2S, and it's working. Now, you do this kind of heat too much in the US and it doesn't work, but here in CNL, it's working. The crowd is responding to it. So I get it, and I don't want to criticize them for that. However, something very similar was done a couple weeks ago over the women's title, where the champ was attacked before her match, and the match never got started. So I don't know how much of this you want to happen. I certainly don't think it's overdone yet, but it's certainly something that can be overdone. So they're not there yet, but it's something to keep an eye on. You don't want to rely on that for heat too much going forward. So maybe put a little bit of space before the next time you do this kind of angle. I would say at least a couple TV tapings, which should give you a couple months. But what do I know? Anyway, moving on. Because this is only the eighth episode, and that's already happened twice. So, maybe putting 8 more episodes before the next one would be a good idea. Next, we had Axel Ochoa defeating Alessandro. Alessandro attacked Ochoa backstage a couple weeks ago, setting up this one-on-one match. Ochoa was the Venezuelan gentleman who had promos in the opening weeks before his first match. So he's getting a lot of screen time even when he is not in the ring. This was a short match, but a solid match. And the guy they're building, Ochoa, gets the win. This is a very short CV feud, and he gets the win. And he's moving on to the next one, which is Pedro Pablo, who attacked him after the match. And so you set up his next feud. So I get the booking with Ochoa, it makes sense. build him up with some promos. He gets a win or two under his belt, gets attacked backstage, setting up this short little 2-3 week TV feud, wins that, gets attacked after this match, setting up his next feud, and so we're moving right along with Ochoa before he's anywhere near a title match. Makes sense. Big fan. However, I think maybe just attacking people, either backstage, before matches, after matches, during matches, maybe there's another way to work around setting up matches. Setting up feuds might be happening a bit too much. At least it was after the match. Next, we had the women's champion, Angle, defeat Nikki, which was, obviously I'm a big fan of champions winning non-title matches. So there's exceptions to this, because there's very few absolutes in wrestling. But really the only time I think a champ should be pinned in a non-title match is in a tag match, to set up a title match. Getting pinned in a one-on-one match, it feels weird to me. I just feel like the titles, because if the champ is pinned, if you have a singles championship and you are pinned in a singles match, you shouldn't be deserved to be called the champion. You get pinned in a tag match, rules are different, there's 4 people there, whatever. You can set up a title match, but with very few exceptions, I think if you are a singles champ, you should only lose in non-singles matches. Okay. Anyway, this match was good. Nikki looked good down the stretch. She seemed a little not tight. I need to find a better word for this. Not smooth, not very crisp with her work early on, but I don't know what happened towards the end of the match, but she just picked it up, things tightened up, and her offense looked good. Champ gets the win, like I said, smart booking, and Angle's challenger, Alexandra, I don't know why I struggled so hard to say that. I kept wanting to say Alexandria, like the city in Egypt, but in my head I knew that was wrong. Alexandra attacked after, furthering their feud. I'm okay with Alexandra attacking, because Angle attacked her a few weeks ago, so this is their thing, they're going back and forth to set up their feud. I just think maybe there's too much attacking going on in general. So maybe we should have just left it for this feud before, Ochoa gets attacked after his match and Francis gets attacked by S2S and his crew. I don't know. Just what I think. It seems to be working so far. The crowd seems to be into it. So maybe this is unfair criticism on my part. Maybe this is me being out of touch with that Santiago market. Because like I said with IWRG, CNL is not booking their show for some wrestling nerd in Lincoln, Nebraska, USA. They're booking their show to draw folks to buy tickets to the building. So if the crowd's liking it, that's all what matters. Moving on to the main event, we had Engranaje Jack having an open challenge for his national title, the top belt in CNL. And Rocket answered that challenge, and Engranaje Jack retained. Now, okay. I am, in general, not a fan of open challenges for titles. I think it devalues the belt, because Rocket did nothing to earn this title. There was a call out, and he's like, oh yeah, I'd like a title shot. That sounds like a good career move. So he didn't do anything to earn it, which makes no sense to me. And then on top of it, why weren't there the entire men's roster out there to answer the call? Why wouldn't everyone want that career opportunity? Why did Rocky get that chance? Is it a first come first serve? Once they hear there's an open challenge, first person to text the general manager gets the shot? Makes no sense to me. Not a fan. Secondly, with how this match went, there was no reason why it just couldn't have been a non-title match and everything would have been the same. Or, if you just wanted to have Rocket, win a number one contenders match last week, or 2 weeks ago, or whatever, and still make it a title match because you wanted to end your taping and end your episode with a title defense, if that's important to you, then you could have done something like that. But open challenges do nothing for me. Now, did it matter to the live crowd? Not at all. Will people continue to do open challenges and the illogicalness of it matter? Not at all. So this is probably a nitpicky thing on my part, because I'm a fucking wrestling nerd. And I need to get over this shit. The match was good. Built well. Solid work. Thumbs up from me. After the match, after Ingranaje Jack won, firstly, I don't know that Ingranaje Jack looked strong enough. I feel like maybe he sold a little too much. But again, a little nitpicky on the psychology. Ariel Levy attacked after the match to set up the next title program between Ingranaje Jack and Levy. The crowd popped huge for Ariel Levy. So they are excited for that title program and to set up something big. Now, what that means, though, is that every single match on this episode, either during or after, had an attack to set up a program or to further a program. Angle and Alexandra had an attack to further theirs. Pablo attacked Ochoa to set up theirs. S2S attacked Francis to set up theirs. And Levy attacked Jack to set up theirs. That was this whole episode. Now, it didn't feel that bad watching the episode. The crowd seemed to be into everything, especially Levy. So they're excited for that. So really that's all that matters, because that's going to draw tickets to the next house. But might be overdoing a little bit on the attacks to set up programs. I don't know much about Chilean wrestling history. I don't know if there's something that would hurt the market if they do it too much. People will get sick of it. I don't know. Maybe this is just how things are done in Chile, and they do this will continue to be done, and it won't hurt ticket sales at all. We'll have to wait and see. But for right now, that's just an eyebrow raiser for me. So I am observing, and I look forward to seeing their houses in the future. But overall, the action was good on the episode. The feuds they set up made sense. How they set them up with all the attacking, I'm questionable on. But what they set up and why they set it up all made sense to me. I look forward to their next set of tapings. And I can only assume it'll be just as good as the last 8 episodes were. So, good on CNL. Lastly, we're going to talk about WWL from Puerto Rico and their weekly show called High Voltage, which is free on Fight TV. Every Tuesday evening, it is 5 p.m. Central Time for me here in Nebraska, the United States of America. Do your best to figure out what time that means for you in whatever time zone you're living in. We had 2 matches on this one. The main event involving LAX, yes, that LAX. The opening contest, however, was, I guess it should be called a tag team gauntlet. So it wasn't really a gauntlet because teams came out in 2-minute intervals. So it's not like you beat a team and the next team comes out. But it wasn't a rumble or a battle royal because you were not eliminated by thrown over the top rope. You were eliminated by pinfall or submission. So a rumble gauntlet, I don't know what to call this match, but that's what it was. Started out with 2 teams. A team came out every 2 minutes and you were eliminated by pinfall or submission. So that's just, those are the rules. I don't know what to call it. It was won by DOIT, D-O-I-T, all caps. They were the first team out. They lasted the 3 other teams to get the win. So obviously that's puts them over strong, makes them look like a big deal. So good for DOIT. They're a solid team. They don't blow my socks off, but they do have entertaining matches. So I enjoyed that. The match itself was fine. Nothing special. A couple of cool high spots. But beyond that, nothing special about the work or psychology or anything like that. In the main event, we had LAX, Santana, and Ortiz defending the tag team titles against Westside Mafia. This was a fun match. As you can expect, LAX is fucking awesome. I do think they brought something special to this match. I think they elevated Westside Mafia a lot to maybe have a better match than Westside Mafia could usually have without a team as talented as LAX. But overall, it was a good match. A lot of your typical LAX stuff that you would expect. Some quick, cool high spots. Some really indie-rific high spots. And I don't mean that in a detrimental way. I really don't say indie-rific as a detriment or an insult. The only kind of indie word I use as an insult is shindy. So if I use that, I'm insulting something in an indie way. But other than that, when I use indie-rific, or any of those terms, I'm not using it to insult. Anyway, LAX won. LAX retained with them dropping the Impact titles this past week and rumors of their contracts ends swirling. I thought for sure they would lose and drop their titles here so they could move on. But they won. They retained. But the last segment of the show was the tag team Thunder and Lightning walking into them backstage and them kind of eyeing each other as they walk past. And so that's when it made all the sense in the world to me, because Thunder and Lightning is being this very pushed tag team who is in the main event of their next big show, War in the West 3. So them getting the tag titles off LAX makes a lot of sense. So that's something I could absolutely see happening. That's what I will assume will happen if all these rumors about LAX contracts ending soon. So that's what I look forward to seeing, and that is what I expect to happen. But LAX, for the time being, are still your WWL Tag Team Champions. Thunder and Lightning are not my kind of tag team. They are big and old and slow. Doesn't mean they're bad pro wrestlers, just with how little they move and how, I think, poorly they sell, they're not what I look forward to. But LAX is super talented, and so if they're going to be, the flashy flyers against this big, strong, sturdy tag team, I do think that's something they can work with and have a fun match out of that. So I look forward to it with a grain of salt. So very brief overview of High Voltage this week, but that's because I went so fucking long on IWRG and CNL. So those are your Lucha indies for this week. A lot of interesting stuff happening, a lot of interesting stuff to keep your eye on. Mostly builds on the episodes this week, especially with LAX and Thunder and Lightning. The new title opponent for Engranaje Jack and CNL, and whatever is going to happen with Dragonbane and Io de Canis Lupus against Los Traumas. So some fun stuff to look forward to in the entire Lucha Libre world, both in Mexico and outside. This has been this week's edition of Lucha Indies. Thank you so much for listening, and take